Sir Flora. Go on about how sweet you are, about how good I am at things, or something like that.
That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, okay. No. Things were going so well.
I think they're incredibly difficult to assemble. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Today's episode brought to you by our therapy partner, Dirty B.
Dirty B.
And now, broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
So that website is called TaskRabbit.
No, but what I'm talking
I use
about,
it
though,
religiously.
I don't think it's... Putting a hole in your wall is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it is.
Is what I'm getting at.
You can't undo that.
You definitely can.
You cannot undo that.
Yes, you can.
What are you going to do, build a new wall?
Yes, that's exactly what you do.
I mean, that's one way to do it. Sure, I suppose.
Jacob can attest to this. Jacob and I have each hung photos.
Yeah.
And then we have each moved to a different house.
Uh-huh.
And we had to tear down the whole wall and replace it to
What
fix
do you
that
do
hole.
to put
I mean, even the more
Right?
annoying thing is not even when you're moving. It's just like you hang up a photo and then you go like, oh, that's good. I'd like it about 3 inches to the left. New wall.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every
time. Look,
No.
Laura's on my
Jim.
side. Let's go back to that, okay? Because she and I both agree it's a lot to fasten furniture to a wall. Then you can't adjust it. If you walk past it a week later and you're like, it needs to be like a foot to the left. It's like, to take out of the wall and reinstall it in another portion
Now,
of your
Jim,
house.
you're saying all of this. What I can really tell you right now, though, is that Nick and I are just concerned for your children's safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, and I
Nick
do
and
like the idea of it's
Nick
being
and I
secure.
don't want the shelf to fall on your children
Yeah.
and kill them.
Okay, so I'm on that team too.
Are you, though?
Are you?
Well, okay,
Have you attached the shelf to the wall?
Guys, there's competing
Well,
values
let me ask
here.
you
It's
this.
not easy.
No, where's the bookshelf now, and where are your children right now?
Well,
and where
nearby.
are you?
I'm not.
Doesn't know the answer to any of those questions.
But there's
except
books
maybe
on
the
it.
last one.
There's books on it. I feel like the books are holding it down. Like it's not gonna.
Oh, I don't
move.
think it's going to float up.
Yeah,
I do agree with you that it
Yeah.
will not float up into the air.
the books are holding it.
Yeah, the books are going to weigh it down nicely.
It's sturdy, guys. It's a sturdy furniture.
Yeah, because who built it?
Well, me.
Oh, I have differing opinions.
Yeah, I'll be
now.
honest. I do have a lot of extra parts,
Somebody-
but I feel like it wasn't necessary.
Somebody needs to call CPS.
Some of
Yeah.
these things wouldn't
So-
fit. I don't like the idea of fastening. I'm good with it eventually, but I think you wait a month and I think you fasten it eventually. Carrie's on my team. Go ahead, Karie. Explain to your little brother why he's wrong.
I have never fastened anything, any furniture. However,
Also, no earthquakes in Iowa.
right, yeah, just that.
We just had an earthquake
Just
last
that.
week.
Yeah, we do have them here.
If you look behind any of my pictures on my wall, you will see several holes of things that I've moved several times until I got it right.
Those micro adjustments, right? Yeah. See, this is one of the
Carrie
reasons.
and Laura are in studio with us today.
Yeah.
by the
Also,
way.
they're here. This is one of the reasons.
This is why we're terrible at this.
Yeah, we're not good at podcasting. This
But
is
go
why
on.
we have Jacob to supervise. He comes as, by the way, there are other humans that have not been announced. It's a really good thing we have him. just guidance. Just good guidance. No, but okay, this is one of the things I hate about IKEA furniture, hanging up art or doing art. You have to get it right.
Or doing art.
Oh yeah, doing art.
You-
Like I'll be sitting there with my daughter, and she'll be like, "Oh, Daddy, let's color something. Let's make something." And like she's just like going at it, and like I can't do the first
And
move
you just
of
slap
the
the
pen
crayon right out of her hand.
because you can't undo it. You can't.
Yes,
I
you
can't.
can.
They
No,
sell-
you can't. You have
they-
to start over.
No, they sell this awesome thing. It's called putty.
Mm-hmm.
And you can put it in the hole, and it gets and
Yep.
then you can
Then you
paint
paint
right
over
over
it?
top of it.
But then
and
you have
you'll
to
never
have
find
spare
it.
paint, and it's not going to match.
You should have spare paint.
You should always have
Yeah,
spare
I
paint.
Well, I do
Yeah,
have
you
spare paint. I do have that.
So what's the problem?
It doesn't match.
Then it's not
You have
spare
to shake
paint.
It is. But
You
there's
have
an
to shake
aging
it.
process. It's been fermented.
Then you need to repaint. That just means
I'm not
the paint-
repainting the goddamn house
that just
because
means
of the fucking
paint
nail
on-
in the wall.
No, that means the paint on your walls has faded to the point that it no longer matches.
But that's,
And it's
see how
time
much
to repaint
stress
the house.
This is. It's so stressful.
You
Just
can
to put
repaint
up
the
a
house in like
picture.
2 days.
Jim, here's the thing.
Repainting the inside of a house is easy.
Okay.
Fuck that noise. This is ridiculous.
Here's the other
This
thing.
is why I'm scared to do things.
The other thing you could do, because your house probably has like white walls too.
No,
doesn't it?
it's like a beige.
Off-white.
Everything in my
Off-white.
house.
It's eggshell.
Okay,
It's
eggshell.
Eggshell, Nick.
Eggshell.
Come on.
Right.
Okay.
It's
You know what you
gray
need
shell.
to do? Okay. Just get toothpaste.
Toothpaste works well.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing. Just take a little bit of toothpaste, stick it in the hole, wipe it, let
I'll
it
tell you-
dry.
I'll tell you the
Rub
other
it
thing you
down.
can do. That does
Can't see
work.
it.
I'll tell you the other thing that'll work
Do you
is
use a
you
brown toothpaste?
go into your daughter's crayon kit, and you take one of those crayons and you mash up a little bit of a crayon and you stick it in that hole.
Yeah,
works.
that'd work too.
That works too.
Uh-huh.
They sell those for adults.
Uh,
Little wax crayons for woodworking and
Yep.
filling in
Yeah.
holes.
guys, this is also stressful. Like, I mean, do you,
You
just
and I
see?
both sighed at the same time.
It's
For different reasons, though.
It's so much.
No.
No, she gets it. It is
No,
stressful.
I get
It
it.
is very anxiety making. Okay, the anxious people, we're on the same fucking wavelength. This is way too fucking much. It's a lot of stress to be like, oh, let me just like get this right on the first try. That's a lot.
I went over to
don't
my
know.
buddy's house the other day, just this week. I went over to my buddy's house because they had a contractor come in and redo their bathroom. And the contractor left a bit of a mess with some things. They got a discount and everything, and so left a bit of a mess. And so I went over there to help kind of help with some stuff. And they were going to repaint and everything too. And so I was doing a lot of caulking, filling in a lot of the seams, doing all this. And then there's a big hole in the wall.
Oh.
Where a like an in-wall toilet paper dispenser had been.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they
yeah.
ripped that out, and they're going to put a toilet paper dispenser on the wall there. Even though they got a fancy Japanese toilet with the bidet,
Ooh.
thanks to somebody's advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but they did that, and yeah, this would have caused Jim a heart attack. Filling in a toilet paper roll sized hole in the wall, a square, about 6.5, 7 inches square. It's like, now we got to fill this in.
See, and I think that's only because, like, if you've never done that, if you've never had to patch drywall, it seems
Scary.
Seems
Yes.
daunting.
I don't know what to do.
it's incredibly easy.
Okay,
It's
but
pretty easy.
I just want to be clear. You
'Cause
guys
I'll
are
tell you
telling me
what,
to
I've
shove
never-
toothpaste into a hole.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I put the little tube of Crest up there and I just squeeze.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it squeezes into
Now
the
that's
hole.
if you have like a picture hanger sized hole.
Yeah, little.
Not
little.
much big. Not much bigger than that. It's like a little pin
There's
nail.
going to be a white pimple dot on this beige wall.
No, you get whatever it is that matches the paint, or you do that and then you paint it.
I told you about the paint problem.
I told you about the paint problem. You need to repaint your fucking house, Jobin.
I already told you about this. I told you I shouldn't have to repaint the whole goddamn house because I hung a picture. I disagree with this on moral
If
grounds.
you have faded paint, it might
Well,
be time to repaint.
It's just so hard to get it perfect because it like oxidizes.
You
and,
can
like,
also
changes
it
color.
doesn't. It doesn't. It fades.
Yeah.
But you can also just take a picture of it and go to like Sherwin-Williams or somewhere like that,
They can
and they
usually-
will just match it.
So one of the challenges I have with hanging stuff, fastening stuff to walls, or even doing the IKEA furniture, I'm so scared that once I commit to the thing I'm about to do and I'll make a mistake and then realize I've made a mistake, that I won't do it. So like I'll get to a part where it's like, take these 10 screws and put them into these 10 holes. And what I will do is I will place the 10 screws next to the 10 holes and I will stare at it. And then I will work up the emotional courage to get the first one. And then I will not do it all the way. I'll only give it like 2 turns, just in case I need to bail out, just in case I'm wrong. And then I'll get them all in there, and then I'll go through the manual a few more steps and make sure that I'm doing the right thing. But then what ends up happening is I like put the wrong screw in.
So I don't know what square this is in Jim's neurotic bingo,
I
but
don't
if
know
you're
what to
playing
call
along
this.
at home,
it's
I
That's
feel
at
like this
least
just
3
center
of 'em.
square.
It is
Yeah,
one of
this
the
is-
most
yes.
emotionally exhausting experiences of my life to assemble furniture or do anything technical. Like if you just ask me to like do a technical thing that I'm scared I can't undo, this is why art is not relaxing
see, that's
to me
why
at all.
I think that's part of your problem is you have it in your head that you can't undo it.
You can't undo it.
You can definitely undo it.
You can't. If you put in too big of a screw, then the little one won't fit.
I
No.
used to make furniture for a living.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right.
do you do?
She did.
Yes,
Yeah.
I made the furniture after college. I worked at Winnebago.
Huh?
For the Winnebagos, I made the bedroom furniture.
All right.
Wow.
I made a
Winnebago
lot. I
has
made a
bedroom
lot of
furniture?
yeah. I made a
Isn't
lot of
Winnebago an
mistakes.
RV?
Yes.
Yes.
And in some of them, there are bedrooms.
Yes,
Yeah. There's
yes.
furniture.
And
in
in
there.
those bedrooms, they have furniture.
That does
Wardrobe.
check out.
The
Yeah.
bedroom wardrobe. I built it.
Okay. Huh.
I made a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of ways to cover
I
it
gotta
up.
tell you,
So you ruined a lot of
Let me tell
Winnebagos.
you-
What you're
let me
saying?
tell you right
Oh,
now.
if you're out there and you
If
bought a
you have-
Winnebago from 1995 to 2000,
I would probably check the wardrobe.
closet blows. Now you know the woman that did it to you.
No, but there's okay. So you say you put a big screw in, and it's too big of a screw. You need to take it out, put a little one in. You know what you do? Just take toothpicks, break off a couple toothpicks, stick
Yeah,
them in there, a
that
little bit of
works.
wood glue, put it right in.
There's
What?
wood glue.
Oh
Yes.
yes.
So you don't even need to screw it in.
Wood.
You just
You
glue
need to
the
screw it
pieces
in.
together?
You still need to screw it in.
Yeah, you should still screw it in. It's not
What's the
meant
glue
to
for?
be permanent.
Okay.
It holds things.
It doesn't
Like
hold it
a
as strongly as
screw.
just a screw.
Yeah.
A screw is a mechanical connection.
Oh yeah.
So stressful. See, and then like
See, I think you would enjoy woodworking.
oh, you're an
So-
idiot.
so-
you don't even know me.
No, so
at all.
No, but this is
You
so.
know, Nick, I hate to
had-
do this. You know I hate to do this. I agree with Jim on this one. I do not think
know.
Jim would enjoy woodworking.
I don't.
No!
I think. Listen,
Why would you even say that?
with his, I'll bet. Okay, you give him 5 years, and with his 3 remaining fingers, I'll bet he has a new hobby that
Finally
he
gets it.
absolutely
Yeah.
loves. Yeah, we had a wood shop growing up.
We did.
So our dad had a wood shop in the basement.
What is a wood shop?
It's where you build stuff. Like you've got a whole
Saws.
bunch of tools.
Yeah.
He had a table saw. He had a jigsaw. He had a lathe. He had a
I don't know what it
I need
is.
a lathe.
drill press. Oh, lathes
Yeah.
are so
I need
much
a lathe. I
fun.
don't have a lathe.
What is a lathe?
Oh.
You lathe things on it.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay,
So
that
like a
helps a
table.
lot.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So-
that actually
Yeah.
checks out. Yeah, maybe I would like this.
So a lathe.
This is a great hobby.
a lathe.
A lathe is something that you will hurt yourself on.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
So it's sharp.
But you'll have
I
fun.
should not
No, it's
have
not
sharp
sharp.
things.
It's
The
not
thing-
sharp.
The,
It's
the
fast.
tools that you use with it are sharp.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
but
fast.
What it is, it's very fast. It's spinning faster than anything
Nope.
that you've ever seen spin.
I'm out.
And then you have sharp tools that you press up against it.
Absolutely.
So you take a
What
long
it is,
piece
it's
of wood,
very dangerous.
long piece of wood, right, and it clips in on the end, and then it spins it. So then you've got a little
But it
rail
spins it
that you
so
sit your
fast.
tool on, and then you just go like this. And you've seen this on TV.
yeah,
I'm
like in
sure.
the movie Ghost.
It's how you make no.
that's pottery.
That's
So-
pottery.
But-
okay, so that's
But actually,
you
kind
sit
of
behind
similar.
Demi
Yes,
Moore
yes.
and you.
Kind of similar to that. So,
You're
like,
so
Potter's wheel spins vertically. You know, like whatever is on there is spinning vertically.
Yeah.
This is spinning horizontally.
Okay.
But the same type of thing. You're cutting the waste wood away and shaping it into like
God, that
like
is
a
so stressful.
It's how like on
you
your,
make
like a
one wrong move.
banister.
Yeah.
Like
Or
those
your-
spindles that are on a banister that are like
Table
ground and
lathe.
everything. Those
I
are made
feel
on
like I
lathes.
can visualize this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I'm telling you
that's
right
made on
now,
lathe.
my anxiety is just cooking because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, if you slightly move the little sticky, cutty thing to the left, well,
Oh, yeah.
now you're fucked. Now you just create a little ring. Like, start over.
Well, this
Go get another
probably-
tree.
This probably wouldn't work because I know Jim likes to do a lot of woodworking with a necktie,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and so
yeah.
that probably.
You dress for the job you want. You know, I want to be boss of the woodworkers. So I like to come in ready to go. My keyboard tie flowing in the wind. Yeah. I just like to be there. You know, I'm aiming for management.
all this loose clothing.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I think that we've all agreed that I'm not equipped to do handyman work, which is why TaskRabbit is a great thing. Sponsor the show, TaskRabbit. I am a happy customer, except the prices are starting to get outrageous.
I just imagine though. I don't see you being a happy customer either.
I
I don't see
no.
you. I don't see you putting the stuff
Best
together.
money I've ever
and I
spent.
also don't see you trusting anybody else to do it.
No, you're wrong. So like this thing, me building this is out of the norm. Usually what happens, like whenever I had to furnish my office, it was all IKEA, right? And it was one big shopping trip. And then I hired a tasker, that's what they call themselves. And then they came over to my office and they just like, great, come back in a couple of hours, man. And I was like, great. And then I just bounced and then I came back, everything was built, everything was correct. They just do that right. They have their own little tools and it's perfect. And that's like the 80th one they've done this
I was
month,
about to
so
say
it's not hard.
The cheat is because this is I rarely get IKEA stuff, but on the occasion that I get IKEA stuff, the cheat is instead of using the little Allen wrench that comes with it, is you
Oh.
put an Allen key into your drill,
Yep.
and then it's zip zip
Yep.
Yep.
instead of
Okay.
doing the little hand turn thing.
Okay, yeah, that
That
probably would
probably
be a lot faster.
that probably cuts out 20 minutes right there, easy.
Yeah.
Oh, easy.
So I'm happy to have them build it for me, and that's always the best money I'll ever spend. Like my mental health is so served by whatever I spend to do that. Plus, I would have had to buy another piece anyway because I will screw it up, which has also happened, and then I have to go buy another one and bring it back because I broke the first one.
Jesus.
Because I did something wrong. They're not built to last, guys. Like they are not gym proof. Like
You know what?
I should
I-
be hired by IKEA to help them simplify their process.
I
If
haven't-
I can't do it.
I have an
Do it again.
IKEA bed that I have assembled and disassembled 3 times to move,
Yeah.
No.
and that's got to be a record.
When I lived in California,
It's not meant to disassemble.
it was I had IKEA furniture, and I would disassemble it, reassemble it. A lot of it moved to Las Vegas with us when we first moved out here. I think all of it's gone now. But yeah, like I had desks, I had all kinds of things that I was just like taking the hardware out of it, putting it all back together again. I'm like, same thing we're talking about. Like I'm shoving toothpicks down in the holes so that the screws have something to grip into.
This is stressful.
If you're like my husband, you replace all the screws with real heavy-duty wood screws.
Yep, you can do that.
And then it never will fall apart.
That's right.
Yep. So, ironically, as much as this stresses me out, I really like handyman TikTok. And so I watch a lot of little short videos where they just show a guy building something. And I'm like, this looks great.
Yeah, Laura watches handyman TikTok.
She and I share a lot of videos.
She's over you're talking and she's just blushing.
This is so weird. Like, she's really into this. Like I keep sending her stuff. She's like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, do you have any more with that particular guy? And I'm like, hey, he's really smart, isn't he?
No,
like,
I
like this guy a lot.
I think what she's probably thinking is the video of Henry Cavill building his computer.
Oh my God, that was so hot.
Isn't he like a huge
thing
nerd
I've
or something?
ever seen.
Henry Cavill is Superman, right?
Laura is excusing herself from the room.
she is flushed. She is waving a fan at her face. Yeah, he's Superman, right? And he's like a big nerd. And
Like, and there's a video
big,
that he has
nerd.
of him. He's building a computer.
He is good looking.
Yeah.
He's building a computer, of course, in like a tank top or something like that.
Yeah, like you do. You know, normal computer building
Apparently
attire.
it's really hot in there because he's sweating a lot. I don't know.
Yeah. And he's like wiping his brow and taking huge gulps of like Gatorade.
I was joking earlier. Laura is genuinely turning red.
I love having friends in the studio. So hi, Karie. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Thank
Hi,
you
hi.
for joining us today. You are welcome to try to answer questions because you can't do worse than us. So we've set that bar low. I think that's how we do things around here.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can always count on Pod Therapy to not have standards. First question. Oh, this is one we could all relate to. Learning how to relax from Anonymous. Relax, don't do it.
So I was watching a video of Henry Cavill putting a computer together.
Hot and
boy,
bothered.
was I relaxed.
Not at first, but eventually.
Eventually, I was very relaxed.
As I was sitting there with my cigarette.
Smoking.
And then I paused at that part and came back to it later, if you know what I mean. Hey, everybody. I've listened for a while now, and I've taken a lot of lessons from you guys. Jim being shit at geography is one of them, of course. I'm from Stuttgart. Try to figure out which country that is. And I don't mean the one in Texas, since the USA just copies city names because you can't think of any yourself. That's true.
I believe that's a German city.
That feels right. I wouldn't. I mean, it just feels
Laura,
like a
German city?
I'd have to see how it was spelled.
Yes. Right over her.
I think it's also Stuttgart. Stuttgart. Well, no, it's
you're right.
STU,
It is in Germany.
Hey,
Good
job.
He's got one.
Geography.
Put one down. He's got that thing. But in all earnest, thank you all for your lovely podcast and for all the help you've given us. I have lots of stuff I'd like to ask you, mostly because I don't currently have a therapist. I'm working on that. I do, however, want to cut this short and will focus on just one thing. I am
Das therapy.
Das. Why don't we have a drop?
That's what they call
for
it
that?
there.
Why don't we have a drop when Laura's on the show? It's just a German person.
This is why I never come, you guys. Come on.
Not unless Henry Cavill's around.
Yeah.
Cough button. There we go.
Oh my God. All right, I'm back. I'm gonna need an oxygen mask. All right. I don't even know what we're doing. I am utterly useless when it comes to relaxing. As a background, I'm your run-of-the-mill, anxiety-ridden, depressed goofball with enough imposter syndrome to supply a small country. Lots of traumas in my past, and under enough stress to be thinking about if I'm burned out already. One thing has been made obvious for me through this. I am absolute shit at taking me time and relaxing. I barely have time for myself anyway, but I never manage to actually relax properly. The few hours I have free in a day are spent fussing about which hobby project to do or errand to run that I never actually manage to sit down and somehow recuperate any energy. And to make matters worse, I never manage the hobby goals after all. And if I manage to sit down and watch a movie or whatever, I feel like shit because my self-worth is linked to my productivity. And I'm not even a content creator. How the hell do you learn to relax? Thanks, Anonymous. My pronouns are he and him.
Okay. This is a good question.
It is a good one. God, relaxing is hard. Isn't that weird? It's stressful to relax.
Yeah.
It's totally a thing.
I mean, that checks out with your entire bookshelf story.
That was terrible. This just been a wasted weekend.
No,
for
I
me.
mean, here's the thing. The
I
first,
just want to
the
go
most
buy that
obvious,
bookshelf now, just so I can see how fast I can put
Oh
it together.
yeah. I mean, you probably got time to go buy it now. Bring it back.
It's harder
Assemble
than it looks.
before the show's over.
That's what he said.
Ew! We're talking
I
about
think-
Cavill again.
Obviously the most. Okay, so how do you relax? There's always, you can always go to the zoo or botanical gardens, which has the largest in all of Europe.
Oh,
Is in.
are you looking up German
Stuttgart?
facts?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Stuttgart.
Stuttgart.
Way to really
I think it's
laser
just two-
focus this
I
advice.
think it's just 2 syllables.
Stuttgart.
Stuttgarten.
I think it's Stuttgart.
I believe it's how
Stuttgart.
it's said.
Okay.
That's how my people say it.
All right. But I do think though that the last thing kind of stuck out to me, which is that you set your self-worth based off your productivity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that. Yeah.
I would start there.
That's
Because I do think that makes a huge difference in trying to relax. If at the end of the day you feel like you haven't accomplished anything and you feel like that's connected to your self-worth, yeah, it's going to be hard to relax.
Well, okay. So, like, the idea itself of, like, finding things to relax. Because the writer talks about, like, hobbies, and that becomes stressful. Because then you're, like, invested in the hobby, but then you're like, oh, I have to do this, but then, like, you have to do this. And then if you don't do it, then you're like, I have to justify the thing I bought that goes along with this, and I haven't done this in enough time, so, like, now I'm falling behind on it, and I really owe this hobby more time, or else I've wasted the money. Am I the only one who does any of this?
Yes, it seems that way.
Let's do a hard pivot. Karie, what do you do to relax?
I love this question because I also wrestle with that.
Yeah.
I work all of the time. I
Right.
travel a lot. I have a lot of things on. Last year, I took a girls' trip with just a classmate of mine, and we got dropped off at this location, didn't have a vehicle. We were in
Wow.
a cabin, and we made a pact that we were making no decisions. So it took
cool.
about 3 days to be okay with not doing anything.
And
We took 7 days, so we'd get up and we'd cook breakfast together and we'd walk to the pool. We'd spend a couple hours at the pool. We'd walk back to the cabin. We would nap, read a book, whatever you wanted to do. We
Oh.
weren't coordinating any entertainment. We weren't, whatever you needed to do for yourself to, detach. We did that.
I
It
need
was fun.
structure. That sounds like hell to me.
I'm telling you, it took 3 days
Yeah.
to be okay with
Oh.
not doing
Oh, I don't
anything.
think I could. My skin is crawling listening to you. I'm just thinking.
No.
I'm imagining myself sitting in the middle of nowhere on a chair,
Yep.
and just the minutes ticking by.
It went by so fast.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh God, that
If
feels
I'm-
like an eternity.
If I'm on vacation, I will often tell work, say, if you need me, if you really need me, you can call me or you can email me, but I will charge a full day's rate
Wow.
to answer that phone call. If I have to answer
Don't
the phone call,
do it. Yeah.
like, don't call me unless you really want me.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to get my attention for something, okay.
Yeah.
And I may or may not pick up the phone, by the way. But like, I'll help out if I'm able to, but I will charge you out the ass for it because
What-
I am relaxing.
What do you do to relax? What is your like unplugged recuperation? Because you're also a hobbyist.
I'm
You like to do
weirdly
things.
close friends with Henry Cavill.
Oh.
And we hang out a lot.
Yeah. He's like, dude, I just really need to build another computer.
Yeah,
You're like,
me
I'm
and-
on my way, but I mean, I agree. The last one,
Me and
shit.
HC, like, we hang out all the time, and we have a good time.
But you are a hobbyist, like, or not just a hobbyist, but you'll do things. Like, you'll just tell stories, like, oh, I just did this around my house.
I'll do stuff.
But that is relaxing to you to
Yeah.
kind of do housework. You like
But I don't
that.
picture Jacob as being the type that struggles to relax.
I am bad. I can be really bad about not relaxing.
Yeah,
I can be really bad about
you'll sort
getting
of forget to.
too into work or like
Yeah.
like going a little too hard on things.
That's true, because you always have like 8 different projects going
Yeah.
at any given day. Like, just always a new thing.
Yeah.
People are always coming to you and saying, hey, this problem exists. Can you invent a solution?
Yeah.
And like, oh,
If I can leave town, then it's very easy for me to
I
relax.
see.
Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
I don't think you're the type where your self-worth is dependent on your productivity.
No.
No,
I think you could have a completely
I have a
unproductive...
very high opinion of myself.
Yes. You could have...
Well, he's best friends with Henry Cavill.
You could have
I mean,
a completely
Please,
unproductive
please,
day.
HC.
Oh, sorry. I don't feel qualified.
Completely
yet.
unproductive day and still feel
Oh,
like
I'm
you
fine.
have self-worth. You're
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
fine at the
you're
end of
okay.
that day.
And I would go back to that because I do think that that's kind of the root of all of this is that if you feel like your self-worth is based off of what you can accomplish in the day, then you're just setting yourself up.
You need to be a cockier asshole. That's what you need.
I mean, but I can kind of relate to that in the sense that like I don't play video games very much anymore.
Okay.
But I used to several years ago really be into video games. And I could spend all day just playing video games. And at the end of that day, I would feel like shit.
Right.
Because I'd feel like, man, I just played video games all day. I did absolutely nothing. I hardly moved at all.
Yeah.
You know, but it did get to a point where I didn't want to give up on the hobby, but if I could do something productive in the first half of the day,
Okay.
then I could be like, okay, yeah, but I did this other thing, so I don't
That
feel
does
terrible.
help.
Oh, a couple
Right.
of weeks ago, I had a rare day that I literally had nothing all day long. I didn't have anybody to go meet up with. I didn't have any work stuff to do. I didn't have anything to do around the house. I had 0 things that I needed to get done that day. And so I did 0 things that day.
Wow.
I sat around. I watched a movie. I played some video games on the Oculus. I was doing stuff like that. Like SJ left and came back, and I still hadn't put pants on.
Wow.
And she was
a
like,
good
"You're
day.
just having a nothing day, huh?" It's like I sure am.
But don't you feel like,
And at the end of that day, I felt great.
yeah, don't you feel like, watching all of Cobra Kai in 2 days is really an accomplishment? I mean,
Yeah. if
That's
you
when you
binge
look
productive.
at it, right?
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
productive.
You set a goal. I'm going to binge watch and not leave the couch today. I mean, if that's my goal for the day and I get it done, then I was really productive. and
accomplished something.
I accomplished something.
I can't
and-
do any of this. I am so.
I can't sit and watch
stressed.
TV for that long. But yes,
No.
I get where you're coming from, though.
I keep.
What I will often do though is I'll be like, "Oh, this is a movie I've been wanting to watch for a long time. I'm gonna sit down and watch this movie."
Yes, I can do that because it's one discrete 2-hour block.
Yeah.
But like on my weekends, so I have like a paper agenda thing, like one of those little like weekly.
A calendar.
That one, but it's like a little book.
A planner?
That one, yeah. I have a planner,
Jesus Christ.
so I have one of those, and
These aren't hard
every
words.
every day, if I had any downtime, even if I have a cancellation and just like an hour free, I will do something and then write down what I did because I'll think back and feel like I wasted my week or I didn't do something productive. Like if I take my daughter for a walk, and then if we take a walk, it's not okay to just take a walk. I'll bring like trash bags and trash grabbers and like we'll walk around cleaning up our neighborhood or something like that. Or like anything that I'm going to do, it has to feel productive. And then I will go to my little planner thing
That's
and write
why
it
we need
down.
to call CPS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Not
Yeah.
the shelf.
I can't do like the shelf thing. Like I had a whole day to myself. I just was all alone and I just was out of my mind. And so I was like, oh, we need like a bookshelf. And so like I went and got one, like built it all day and like all this other crap. And then I immediately went to my little planner and I was like, you built a bookshelf on this day. Like you're not a waste of life. And like I have to do that every
I'd say those
minute
two things
that I
aren't
have.
related.
Yeah. Yeah. Laura, how do you relax?
Well, right now, honestly, I just rewatch shows.
Okay. You can
So-
rewatch shows?
You know what I mean, like Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
Bob's
Like,
Burgers.
yeah.
Right now, I'm watching Rocco's Modern Life.
Oh, that is
Just-
a good
It's making me
rewatch.
so happy, but I want to bring it back to Anonymous.
That's
I
probably smart.
And it kind of goes back to what Nick started to say, which is, why are you putting your self-worth on productivity? You should explore, where is that coming from? Is that coming from your childhood? Is that coming from social media? Is that coming from your friends who are all productive around you and you're feeling like a lazy ass? Like, is it, where did those expectations come from? And once you kind of, think about it and figure it out, you could probably start to remove some of that from that mindset and kind of chip away at that, basically.
Yeah. I have to use
Seriously.
a lot of self-talk.
Because but not even self-talk, but just self-discovery and just really thinking about it, really thinking, okay, what?
So you think
where did this come
masturbation
from?
is the answer?
I mean, probably. It relaxes,
Is
right?
that not what you meant by self-discovery?
I think that's what it's
Self-discovery. Everybody should self-discover.
Can we not have a masturbation discussion with my sister on the show?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we go? Can we go one episode?
Yeah.
Just one episode.
We just get through one taping.
Nick, you have to pick Laura or Karie. Who do you want me to talk about masturbation with?
Or me. I'm in the room. I mean, I like to talk about it too.
Obviously, Laura.
No, but you bring up a really good point. Like, and I mean, obviously, I relate to Anonymous so much, and you're asking exactly the right questions that I would need to sit down with. Like, Jim, why you did fine this week? But that's why for me, self-talk matters so much, and that's also why I use the planner. Is because in my head I will feel inadequate, and I'll be like, oh my God, you didn't do anything. Like for me,
But
it's
why
also,
is that? That's my big question. Why?
I feel like
Where
so
is that
for me
coming
it
from?
has a lot to do with my family. Like if I didn't do something for them, then I think like, well, you're selfish. You know, like if I play a video game and
better
then
than
like
being shellfish.
I didn't take my kid for a walk, or I didn't help my kid play guitar, or I didn't play video games with my kid, or I didn't build a puzzle or whatever, or I didn't build something for them, I didn't make a bookshelf or anything like that. I have this sense of like I haven't helped them, and that's being a bad father. And that's probably that deeper question of like, you struggle with that, don't you? Like this idea of like you're a bad father.
Right.
And that pathology scares me and makes me anxious. I'm like, no, you're not a bad dad. Look at your planner. And then I'll run my planner and be like, okay, yeah, I did a lot of things this week. Like, okay, good. You know, I did enough. And then I'm like, okay. And that chases away that thought a little bit longer. Yeah. So yeah, you're asking the right questions. She's a good shrink.
Well, it's just like, I mean, our American, I don't know where this person is from, but like our American views.
Germany.
Well, but no, oh, sorry. So they're
from
not.
Hofbrauhaus.
So that's interesting because Americans, we're all about our productivity. We're all about,
the
we've got to
Germans
do
are,
everything.
too.
Well,
Aren't
maybe
like
they are.
industrious or whatever?
I mean, I don't know.
I think you're off on this because
I am.
I think that productivity, like things that you do, is a normal way to gauge yourself. I don't think it should be the only way you gauge yourself. But I think that you know, if I accomplish something, that's a really nice, easy thing for me to point at and say, I did this. So, for instance, when I used to work for a university, when I would work for the theater department at a university, we would get acting students often that would be kind of down on themselves. You know, they hadn't gotten an audition lately for any of the student-run productions or anything like that. And my advice to them was always go take a day, whatever your next kind of easy day is, class schedule-wise, take a day and go work in the shop. Go work in the scene shop and build something. You help build a scenic piece or something like that. Because when you're auditioning for things, when you're doing kind of the acting thing, it's easy to not be able to point at an accomplishment. You know, even if you have a role or something, at the end of a rehearsal or at the end of a show, you don't have anything tangible to look at. Whereas if you go into the shop and you work on something, you help build a flat or something like that, at the end of that work time, you can point at a thing and say, I did that.
Yeah.
And that's a nice, easy way that you can have some self-affirmation in that.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I think what we're all kind of getting at is you don't want that to be the end-all, be-all. You don't want that productivity thing to be the only thing that you look at.
It's a continuum.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah, we don't
It's
want to
all
go
part
from
of
one
it.
extreme all the way to the other. Right.
My thing, though, also, and this, honestly, sorry, guys, this kind of sounds hidden in everything you said, is if you don't do this, you're a piece of shit. And that's what this person, I feel like, is kind of telling themselves. Like, I'm not doing anything, so I'm a piece of shit. Again, where's that coming from? That can't just be coming from them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
It's got to be coming from other people,
I think
society, something else.
I've been married for 24 years, so I was a baby. And I used to have that. Like, my husband loves, like, his stress relief is woodworking. And so he would go downstairs, and on Saturday that would be his disconnect. And my disconnect is disconnecting, right? And I there are so many days that I would hear him coming upstairs and I would jump off the couch or go do something.
Oh, right, because I haven't done anything.
So, right, I haven't done anything.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Because he's going to judge me for being in this
Oh,
space.
God, I do that. Yeah.
And then eventually, it just gets old, and it's like, I'm just too old to jump off the couch
Jim,
anymore.
I'm going to judge you no matter what.
As soon as I hear the little Ring doorbell chirp, like on a weekend where like they're out shopping or something like that, and like I will have done a bunch of things, like I've cleaned the whole house, I've done laundry, like everything's cool, and then like I was working on something else, but then I'll like sit down for a few minutes, and then I'll hear that little ring thing, and like I'll hop up and like start like like a bartender like cleaning a glass. Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm just in the middle of this task because I'll feel like I have no worth if I'm not doing for others. It's like, well, look at this lazy son of a bitch. You're just having a great day, aren't you? Which, okay, I agree, Laura, is a deep neurotic thing and not healthy. I guess to the writer, it's a tricky thing. I agree with Laura. And I think what Laura is saying, if I could translate into therapy,
Please do.
is like, let's challenge those cognitive distortions, right? Because there's a cognitive distortion where we are incorrectly perceiving that our value has to do with our output. And that is a cognitive distortion. That's shoulding. That's a mental fraud way to see it. And so there is a self-talk formula that would come out of CBT that would help you right-size that energy. And that's where self-talk helps me I don't necessarily think it is bad that I have found my way. I'm almost 37 years old. Like I found a way to get out there and enjoy my life. I do sometimes get itchy, feel like I haven't done enough. But my anxiety also keeps me active, and like that's good for me too. And so like I take a lot of walks with my kids or do things for my children that another version of me maybe wouldn't do. And so I don't think it's necessarily bad. I've channeled that energy into good areas that I do find fulfilling. I just don't necessarily feel unplugged or relaxed, so I'm always kind of on edge. But when I need that extra self-talk, I kind of acknowledge what Laura's saying, and the way to solve that is sort of to sit down with myself, and I'll kind of use my PAUSE acronym to kind of walk through it carefully for myself and kind of check in. And I think that reassures me. And then I'll look for evidence like here's your little planner that tells you you've done good things for people, and it's okay for you to now do nothing, and it's okay. Why don't you just sit down and watch BattleBots for the next 2 hours, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I would suggest something along the lines of this. I would suggest you are getting all this all this productivity done and everything throughout your days and whatnot, and just give yourself permission. Just every day, you can just have some you time.
Yeah,
having a little you time is a fine thing.
Sometimes scheduling is helpful.
Yeah,
to say, okay, 1 o'clock is my hour, and there's nothing wrong.
And for instance, with me, what I really like to do is I will. It sounds silly, but I'll go in, I'll light some candles, I'll draw myself a nice warm bath, I'll put on some pornography, and I'll really work on some self-discovery.
Yeah. Or just watch the Twitch stream of Henry
just
Cavill.
One episode, just one.
You both
One episode.
reacted the same exact way. That was really fucking funny.
Nick and Karie had exactly the same reaction to
Their
that.
Iowa sensibilities. You can feel the weight in the room when you say something sexual. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's naughty.
Masturbation is good, though.
Get him,
It
Laura.
is.
All right, but one last thing.
Nick's is so red right
I'm
now.
not red. I'm trying to answer the question.
He's trying not to masturbate.
All right.
He's fighting the urge.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad we have
One
this
other
podcast.
thing, though, with the productivity thing, though, is also take a look at what productivity actually means.
Right.
Because I would argue that taking time for yourself to mentally and emotionally reset is extremely productive.
Yeah.
And so, like, going back to Jim's analogy of like, oh, I haven't done anything for my family today. I'm unproductive. I would challenge that belief and be like, well, isn't you taking care of you to be a good father the most productive thing that you could do?
Yes. No, I love that sensibility. I know for me, though, what will happen is if I choose to do something for me, the whole time, I'm not thinking about how much I'm liking this. I'm thinking, you shouldn't be doing this. And then I feel icky.
Yeah, then you need that other self-talk. You need somebody in there
that's what
gonna
helps
coach you.
Yeah.
To be like,
I do better. Like even things like going to the gym or something like that. That's a really hard decision for me because I'll be like, what could you have done for others during this time?
Oh my gosh! But
I know.
And this is why you got Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the Mr. Rogers icon. He's so nice.
no,
All right.
but then you have to have that other part of you that challenges and takes that thought to court.
Right.
You're like, okay, so going to the gym and getting in shape and being healthy
Is good for my children.
extends
Exactly.
your life.
Right.
Yes.
So you're going to be there longer for
That's
them.
the self-talk solution,
Yes.
which is correct, and I'm glad
Yeah.
you're role modeling that for me and for the writer.
Right.
We're
Oh,
all
the
learning.
writer too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
I think that the summary of our answer today, writer, is you should masturbate to Henry Cavill. We are going to take a quick break, and
Yeah.
when we come back, we're talking about cutting out your toxic mother. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's
Self-discovery.
episode is brought to you by
Henry Cavill.
Smitty Scoop, Nathan's Meat Tube Sandwich, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Dirty B, Byler T, Paris, and Team Monaco. If you would like to sponsor the show, go to patreon.com/therapy. Our trivia this week was brought to you by Karie,
Yay!
but she forgot it. So
Well done,
instead, it's World War I,
Ooh,
a topic that I know you guys
True.
are going to be terrible.
I have a good shot at this one.
I don't think you do.
Wait, one? Oh, one's the hard one.
Yeah.
Two's the fun one. Relevant. Can we go back? Back to one. Back to one. Jacob, delete all that.
don't
World
think-
War I is the one that Laura is a big fan of.
Yeah.
And that's how she got her nickname by making mustard gas.
Aha! Was that where they invented
Yeah,
that?
mustard
Yeah.
gas.
It was-
and
it was
then
used
that
in World War
actually,
I.
yeah, and then it became illegal by the Geneva Convention or whatever after World War.
Yeah.
After World War. With the
So-
Geneva Conventions after World War
I don't know. One convention was. Doesn't matter.
Oh.
This isn't about me. This is about you.
You're
All right. In what year did World War I end?
Oh God.
Oh,
Is it A, 1917,
okay.
1918,
Oh come on.
1919, or 1920?
Well, since I
there's
was
four
going to
of
say
us.
1918 already,
You're gonna grab
I'll say
it.
1918.
1918.
Ooh.
Hey, you got to let him.
Oh,
No, you
sorry.
don't. Yeah, I like to go last. Go ahead, Karie.
I was gonna say 1919.
Oh wow. Isn't it the swinging 20s or something like that? The roaring 20s?
Yeah.
I feel like that would have happened after a war.
Yeah.
But then there was
It
also a
did.
stock market crash.
Technically, with all of those answers,
Yeah.
it did.
It also happened after the American Revolution. It happened after the War of 1812. There were a lot of
Alright.
wars
I
that
know
the,
what
that the
you
Roaring
meant,
20s
Jim.
happened after.
All right. Yeah. And I feel like the
But
stock
yes, it
market
definitely
crash
did.
also happened around that time too.
There was a stock market crash as well.
I'm going to go with 20. I feel like that's the right one.
All right.
Let's go with 1920. 100
Okay.
years ago.
And then you had what?
18.
19.
18.
20.
It was 1918.
There we
Yeah.
go.
November 11th.
The only reason
A
I know
day
that
that will live in infamy.
is because of the movie 1917. I know that
Ah,
the war ended the year after.
damn it.
There you go.
I
know
totally
that.
cheated.
She's got like
I
Slumdog
have a history
Millionaire
degree.
trivia
Yeah.
powers. She only knows that because of this one memory in third grade. Whatever. Cutting off my mother from Brian. Hi. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to move forward mentally from where I'm at currently. I recently told my mom that her actions don't indicate she wants to be a part of my family and have been ignoring her calls now for quite a while. I've never worked with a therapist and I don't have any idea what type of therapist I should even be looking for. Trying to figure out how to find a therapist has been pretty overwhelming. I'm willing to try therapy since I'm not really in a great place and haven't been for a while, but any hints or suggestions you guys have are appreciated. I've never felt like I had to do something like this before, but I'm holding firm on the stance that I took around January of 21 when COVID vaccines started to become available. After the difficulty that was 2020, my mom, who's 64, decided that she wasn't going to get vaccinated. Despite pleading and efforts to convince her from all three of her children, she still refused to be vaccinated. My sister and her husband are both physicians, and even their pleas have been ignored. I told her over a year and a half ago that until she got vaccinated, I would not see her in person under any circumstance. I've never wavered in my position. I spoke to her occasionally throughout 21, with the elephant in the room being largely ignored. At some point in early 22, she called and asked about meeting outdoors and suggested that the pandemic had subsided enough. Frankly, that pissed me off to the point where I screamed at her to get a vaccine for long enough that she eventually hung up on me. The best my siblings and I can tell is that she's under the influence of anti-vaccine misinformation websites or Facebook pages and some kind of offshoot leader within the Catholic Church, whose message is not that of the popes. For as much as I dislike the Catholic Church, at least their leader has implored people to get vaccinated. I don't think anyone's completely sure what influenced her to follow this path, but she's tried to send us links to far-right misinformation sites for, quote, news about vaccines. It's come to a head recently with my mom leaving messages to me that she doesn't know what's wrong. She called my wife, which made her uncomfortable and also forced my wife and I to have an unpleasant conversation. My wife has a great relationship with her mom, so the strained one that I have is somewhat of a puzzle to her. At that point, the fact that I was essentially not speaking to her wasn't a strong enough hint, so I sent my mom a message to tell her that her decision not to get vaccinated was also a clear statement that she didn't want to be part of my family. It's not a position that I thought I would feel the need to take, but she's been a source of extreme stress for over a year now. I don't expect this to change my mom's opinions about getting vaccinated, but I felt like it was the last card that I had in my hand. Her attempts to ignore my feelings about the safety of meeting in person, despite how clearly I communicated that to her, was completely dismissive of my feelings. She's steering her life with whatever her religion has morphed into, and I feel her trying to use that to steer mine, despite the fact that I'm nearly 40 years old. As an atheist who's had to work hard to shed some of my Catholic guilt, I'm particularly pissed about all that. Plenty more to unpack, but I would appreciate some suggestions on what type of therapy might be helpful for me. I feel like a lot of my struggles still lie in the influence that my mom's religion has had over her decisions in raising our family. Thanks, Brian. Pronouns are he and him.
I don't... What is Brian asking from us, Jim?
I think there's two things to talk about here. One, this dynamic between Mom and Brian, where the vaccine issue and Brian's response to that.
Yeah.
And maybe all of our opinions on, hey, is that what do we think about that response and advice about that? And then I think secondarily, which Nick and I will probably throw rocks at, is this idea of like, should I go to therapy and is there a particular type of way to do that?
All right. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So here's what stuck out to me. So I can understand that. I'm sure Karie can as well, having family members that just have some beliefs. They're just kind of like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
You guys share some family members?
Oh, are you
We
guys
do
related?
a couple.
Oh, that's cool.
But
Masturbation.
like God damn it.
They also share some hobbies.
But I don't. All right. Nope. That one's done. That bit's over. But I don't get frustrated. I don't get angry over stuff. It just kind of like, all right, it is what it is. But the anger actually makes sense to me now. Once we got to the end of the letter, I think the anger makes a lot more sense because it seems like there's still a lot of hurt and there's a lot of resentment.
Yes.
Over religion, over the Catholic Church, over a lot of stuff. And because Mom is still connected to that, and everything that she's saying now has kind of that force behind it.
And now it sounds like Mom might be part of an offshoot group of
and
the
now
Catholic Church
it
now
sounds
that Brian
like,
understands even less.
Yeah, and now it sounds like we're mixing things that we're upset about.
Yeah.
It's we're already upset about this stuff that's happened and this history that I have with the church. And then on top of that, now I've got this thing with Mom. And sometimes putting the two together, it looks like it's all Mom and her COVID stuff. But in reality, it's Mom and her COVID stuff plus a whole lot of other stuff that
Definitely.
I've also been carrying with me that now they're all just kind of put together.
I think the COVID vaccine was a vehicle to bring some of that resentment up. It was just the avenue to say, this is the one thing that I can stick on without really having to dig into what's behind.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. And not to dismiss the COVID thing.
Sure.
Like, yeah, that's a real thing. And I wouldn't say that your emotions aren't connected to that. Obviously, I think they are, but I agree. I think it just seems like it's
tangible. It's one thing when you have all these beliefs that don't get discussed. It's another thing when a real life situation that we mutually need to be thinking about and involves us interacting is now going to be affected by some of your very nuanced views. And like you said, it just puts it right on there. It brings it upstage, if you will.
Keep on trying on that one.
I feel like I got it. Wasn't that the right way to say it?
I'm going to pretend that all of the other stuff that we know is there with your mom is not there. I'm going to try to answer the question that you're asking in your letter, ignoring all of the religious stuff and everything with your mom, which you shouldn't ignore. You should deal with all of that, and I think that's a fine place, as Jim and Nick will probably talk about, to go and explore with some therapy. The COVID part of it, just the COVID vaccine part of it. We are now 2-3 years into what I believe is now, I think we got corrected in the United States, is now in an endemic. We are no longer in a pandemic stage. We're in an endemic stage in the United States of America because of our access to vaccines. I had this conversation with a friend of mine a month or so ago who was and is very anti-vax for political reasons, health reasons, a long list of things, most of which I absolutely disagree with him on. He lost jobs because he wouldn't get the vaccine, etc. At this point, my thought on it is, if you are not getting vaccinated, that is a risk that you are taking.
Right.
There was a time, not that long ago, that if you were not getting vaccinated, you were putting other people at risk.
Right.
And I suppose you still are, to a degree. But I feel like that weight has shifted. And this is my feeling and my feeling alone. I really don't have a lot of hard data to back this up with. And I could very easily be swayed with a little bit of hard data to change my mind on this. But my feeling as it stands right now is your mom not getting the vaccine, she is taking a risk. She's taking a risk that if she gets COVID, it could be a form of long COVID. It could be something that could really endanger her health. It could be something that could possibly kill her, et cetera, et cetera. But she's taking that risk, and it's a risk to her, not so much a risk to other people anymore. At some point, Brian, you have to decide, and I think it has to be a conscious decision, which of those is more important to you.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a relationship with your mom?
Yeah.
Or do you want to stick to your guns on this? It sounds like she's sticking to her guns on this. And it sounds like the apple hadn't fallen that far from the tree, which is probably not something that you really want to hear right now. I think it's probably something you ought to hear right now. It sounds like the two of you are really similar in sticking to y'all's guns.
Yeah, a little stubbornness.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you might just, if you want to have a relationship with your mom, you might have to just bend on this one. And I mean, health-wise, I don't know about any pre-existing conditions that anyone that you or your family might have. Right. So, that would color my, that could color my thoughts in a different direction if that is the case. I think I'd probably bend on it. I think I'd probably let this one go.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I'm just kind of picturing myself in this situation where it's like, you can set a boundary and like, okay, this needs to happen. Otherwise this won't happen. You need to get vaccinated. Otherwise we are not going to be in person.
Yeah.
Okay. And then sometimes when people push back on that boundaries, you have to enforce it.
Right.
Sometimes when people push back on that boundary, people will double down. And
Yes.
it sounds like that's kind of what Brian did.
It sounds like everybody has doubled down at this point.
Then now we're not going to do this either. And then you just keep adding to it.
Right.
And then at some point, I think you kind of get to that thing where it's like, now this is only about enforcing boundaries. And
Yes.
I don't even
levels.
remember what we're arguing about anymore.
It's about respect.
Were there grandkids
It's about
involved?
love for my family. It's about you
I don't think
symbolically
so.
throwing us all away.
Yeah.
It becomes all these extra layers of like justice and fairness and philosophy when it really didn't need to go to that level.
And also, you're never going to get to a point in life, not just with your mom, but in life, where things feel fair.
Yeah.
You're never going to get to a point where like, now this feels like justice has been done and now we can all continue with our lives. You're not going to get to that point, buddy.
And I think that the thing that kind of resonates with me, or that kind of piques my interest, is not the boundary thing, it's the emotions behind the boundary. Because that tells me something. Something is there. Something is stewing. It's not that big of a deal to set a boundary and just be like, yeah, this is how it's going to be. If not, then that's fine, whatever. And you can do that in a very non-emotional way. But when you're like really irate and frustrated, that's coming from someplace.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of a separate from the boundaries.
Well, it's like
That's
my friend
just
that I was just talking about that didn't want to and did not get any of the COVID vaccines. I made it a point to not be around him.
Sure.
When the pandemic was in full swing.
Right.
Now, I ran into him the other month. I was like, oh,
hi.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
How you been? Life good? The wife good? The kids good? Everybody's good? That's
Right.
great to hear, man. I'm glad to hear everything's going well with you. Let's get a beer sometime. Let's get a beer and catch up sometime.
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not vaccinated. So, I get it.
Yeah.
At some point,
we're in a different place.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I think that
things have changed. We can change too.
Well, and that you're bringing up a really good point. This idea that we got to the place where the pandemic got so severe and we finally had the vaccine that people started needing to take a position about who they're going to be in a room with.
Yes.
And now things are also changing. It escalated to that point. It has de-escalated away from that point. There are 5 of us in the studio right now. There was a time in Pod Therapy history where I would not be here. I would be like, nope, I'm coming in through Zoom. And then there was a time later would have been like, okay, yeah, I'm cool coming there. Is everybody vaxxed? Do you mind if I ask you that? I don't mean to be intrusive, but I need to know. And if not, it's great. I'll be in via Zoom. Don't care anymore. And it comes down to this question of like, I think Jacob bringing it up, it's more of a defensive move now than an offensive move. I agree with Nick that it's a boundaries thing that's taken on a new life, which in a moment I want to comment on about this idea of red lines and ultimatums, which I think we need to bring in some addiction theory to help with this. But I'm curious, as we're reading this and you're kind of thinking about family dynamics, and I'm looking at the girls now for all of you in Radio Land.
They're women.
I was going to say, we're not girls.
Oh, is that not how that
Yeah.
works?
No,
Sorry.
no, you don't call us
I
girls
call them
anymore.
the boys. Where my dog's at? No. Okay, so let's go back to you guys, ladies,
Fraulines.
women.
Fuck
Thank you.
God, dude.
Let's do that. Let's just Fraulines.
Don't involve her in this. Don't involve her in it. It's just
They're
me and
just
you.
here.
It's
It's just me and
Fraulein
you.
is a perfectly fine term.
Yeah, why
just a
do you
different language,
hate
Laura.
other cultures? God, she just really does not like cultures that are not her own. It's weird. Anyway, Karie, what are your thoughts on all this?
No, I think what you've said is correct, and like I said, I think it was an avenue to get at some deeper resentment and issues.
Yeah.
And then being able to have some conversations. So it doesn't matter, or getting to an understanding that we might have different experiences. We might have different viewpoints. We might have different values, but that doesn't mean, like I said, that there's a hard red line.
Right.
There are still options in order to accept. I understand where you're coming from. I hear your perspective. I hear your values and the things that are happening in your church. I might think they're completely cultish and
Right.
crazy, but I hear and I understand where you're coming from, and being able to say, this is where I'm coming from. These are the
Right.
things that I value and the things that I've experienced. So now what does that mean for us as a relationship?
Yeah, I like that idea. Laura, what are your thoughts?
I am actually going to not comment on this one because I think there are way too many different factors happening here.
Yeah,
It's a very
lot of
sensitive,
variables.
it's a very sensitive topic. I don't want to say something that offends the writer because they're absolutely entitled to whatever they think, believe, and feel. So is their mom. And also, this made me think of the book that came out recently called "I'm Glad My Mom Died."
Oh yeah, I heard
Whoa.
about that.
I
Yeah.
didn't hear about that.
Yeah.
You didn't?
It's a bestseller. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bestseller right now. It's about an actress who wrote about her very toxic relationship with her mom. And what I hear from you all is coming from a place of you want your mom in your life. And there are just some people that don't need their moms in their life.
Right.
And so that's why I'm not going to comment because
Right.
it's just there's so many different things
That's a good
happening here.
point, though.
That is
So
a really good point.
that's all I have to say.
So that's one thing that we actually talked about a lot when I worked in a rehab. It was an all-female program, all women, and one of the things, there's a lot of very unhealthy relationships, a lot of very unhealthy relationships with parents, especially. And that was one of the big things that we kind of had to have that talk about is they all really, really desperately wanted a healthy relationship. Or no, not necessarily that they wanted a healthy relationship, but they all felt like they owed a level of respect to their parent because they were their parent.
Oh, okay.
And we kind of had, at one point, had to like
Challenge
challenge that thought and just be like, no, people earn respect.
Mm-hmm.
Parents also earn respect.
Mm.
And if they're not earning that respect, then you don't have to give that.
Mm.
You're an adult.
Yeah.
You're 35 years old. You're on your own. That's fine.
Yeah.
If this is an unhealthy relationship, you don't have to continue to, do everything they're telling you to do because they're your parent. At some point, you become an adult.
So I'm going to grab both those laces and kind of tie a knot because I really like this theory, and I think Laura brings up a really good point. There are universes in which a parent is just toxic, and it's actually the best possible thing for you to remove them from your life. That can happen. from the context clues of Brian's letter, I get the impression that it isn't that, it's that Brian doesn't like mom's choices and behaviors, and Brian would like to influence and change those choices and behaviors. And Brian, when I hear that, I think, boy, you're painting yourself into a corner here. Because now you're requiring other people to behave in ways that you want them to do in order to have a relationship with you. Now, in addictions work, we face that all the time. And many times that's a healthy way to leverage change in relationships. But when Nick and I work with people like that, even in those very severe circumstances, we're always careful not to tell them to use an ultimatum. Ultimatums are nuclear level. You cannot budge on them. There's no diplomacy. There's no movement. You've blocked all your steps to yes or no. Acquiesce to my demands, or I am dead to you. You'll never see your grandchildren. We don't exist anymore. And this is probably what you're kind of alluding to. It startled your wife a little bit when she's kind of looking like, hey, you know, this is still your mother, right? And it's like, no, you don't understand. And this is what Karie's talking about with like that ball of resentment that's in there that's influencing a lot of these decisions. I want you to take this to therapy. And the kind of therapy that I think you're going to be asked to work on is starting with this place of looking at your history, unpacking some trauma, unpacking resentment stuff. Because if we can start cracking that open first, we can understand how that's influencing some of the positions we're taking, some of the energy we're adding to this. And then I think that therapist is also going to talk to you about how we kind of institute healthy boundaries with people, which that's fair to do, but a boundary is not always a barrier. Like it's a fence, not a wall. And when we wall people in and we say, you have to do A, B, and C, or I will not be a part of you. Okay, now we're overstepping into controlling, right? Because like now we're controlling their behavior. And I imagine, think about what your mother's thinking when she's talking to her therapist. The therapist's like, well, your son shouldn't tell you how you can live your life. Yeah. Right? Like, even if your son's right about the vaccines, even if this is about you and health and all these bigger, more important values, at the same time, it's probably not healthy that your son's trying to just control your behavior and he's holding family members hostage until that is acquiesced to. And this is where your therapist is going to help you kind of unball your fists and kind of breathe a little bit and find some of that open space in between these emotions to help guide you into something that looks like a healthy boundary and fair requests and real reactions, but doesn't lead into that pigeonhole of ultimatum where it's yes or no, because I see that you're adding so many layers to this. If you don't do this, you don't respect me. If you don't do this, you don't love us. If you do this, you choose your religion over your children. How can you not believe in these bigger things? And it's like, I get it. I'm with you on that. We've talked about that in the show. But when I hear that kind of escalation of terms, I think, let's sit down in therapy. Let's really access your truth, Brian, in this way that there is no audience, the family can't see you, you have ultimate privacy, where you can really examine some of your thoughts, some of your hurts, and the way that they're tangled up in all this. And at the end of the day, as Laura said, you may discover with your therapist's help that, hey, this is just not something you need in your life, and there's all these good reasons for why to step away from that relationship. You may also discover, I need to kind of consider some of my actions as well, because I'm doing some things at mom that perhaps mom often did to us. And I don't want to do that back. And I'm getting tangled up in this. And that's that apple falling from the tree thing.
And you might not even be wrong.
Might not.
You can be right on everything that you're saying. Just maybe go at it a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe take a little lighter touch on some of this stuff. And that's, again, if you don't want to have a relationship with her, and if you don't want your family to have a relationship with her, because of this, if you feel so strongly that you're like, I simply, guys, you're off on this. I cannot have a relationship with this person because of this.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, I think that's, it is, at some point, it's going to get down to what is more important to you. You may be right about everything that you're saying to her, and all these lines that you're drawing might be for good, right reasons. You might be absolutely correct. But at some point, it is the choose your battles thing.
It is.
You got to look at it and say, like, do I care about this thing, whatever it is, the vaccine, the religion, whatever that is, enough to say my relationship with you is over?
Yeah, and sometimes we can reach
and if
that
the answer to that
conclusion
is yes,
quickly.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, I want you to reach that conclusion contemplatively, emotionally, thoughtfully, and therapeutically. Which kind of therapist could you find? I think anybody is really qualified to sit down with you and work through this. If you're looking for somebody that might have a little bit more expertise, maybe somebody with a background in marriage and family therapy, you'll usually see LMFT after their name. Don't necessarily feel like that's the only choice, but they do have some extra training in things like family dynamic theory and kind of going through some of that and systems therapy, which could be useful here. But anyway, great answers, everybody. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about dating a person with bipolar psychosis. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's
Dating two people.
Today's episode
Teaser
is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Nathan's Meat Tube Sandwich, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Dirty B, Byler, T, Paris, and Team Monaco. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer, head on over to patreon.com/therapy. Our second question about World War I is the Zimmerman telegram.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Mexico. Final answer.
I'd like to hear the rest of the question.
Okay. Let me find a new question.
Jim has locked in on Mexico. Oh, is he right?
Yes.
Yeah! I think a +1 bonus for going in blind. I think you take high risk.
Well, let's hear the question.
The
Good
Zimmerman
job.
telegram revealed
you.
Germany's intent to entice which country to join it against the United States?
Well done.
Impressive.
I
Well
had
done.
no idea.
Every once in a while, a broken clock gets one.
He
Great
does
job,
just
everybody.
yell Mexico at all the
Yeah,
questions.
yeah. I knew if I kept yelling Mexico all season, one of those will land. Today was finally mine.
Do you have another one?
No. Thanks
All
for
right.
Thanks for the fun, Jim.
Great, everybody. I have a trivia question for all of you, but I don't have multiple choice, so you're just
Okay.
gonna have to take a shot in the dark.
All right. Mexico.
World War I, in many ways, began with the assassination of this world leader.
Franz Ferdinand.
Yeah. Franz
Archduke
Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand.
Okay.
Yeah. Them.
Carrie, what do you think?
JFK.
No, he's
She's
still
right. You're all idiots. All right, great job, everybody. Trivia accomplished. Dating a person with bipolar psychosis.
By the way, if you want to find something that is weirdly, like almost hysterically funny, if it weren't for the fact that it started World War I, if you look at the day and the method that Archduke Franz Ferdinand was actually killed, and like the mess ups and then the pure blind luck that led the assassins to being able to assassinate him.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. It's like if Yakety Sax was playing in the background, it would be the funniest comedic bit ever. It's things like people throwing bombs at the motorcade, the bombs missing the cars, or like the fuse getting a little delayed and blowing up another car.
Oh, no.
Like the car taking off, shooting at the Archduke, missing them.
Wow.
Like all this stuff. And then literally like the Archduke's car, as it is going to the hospital to visit the people who got blown up in another car, took a wrong turn down an alley, had to reverse, and then as they were coming out of that alley into an intersection, one of the assassins happens to be standing there as he was walking home, defeated, having not been able to kill the man.
I think
Sees him in an open-top car and goes, "Oh, fuck!" Pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Do you think that's a time travel thing? I mean, when you hear that, you kind of go, maybe there is time travel.
And
Maybe
I just
instigated
summed
this.
it up. It's deeper than everything I just said.
It's a
Like,
good story.
Like there's so much there to it.
Oh, wow.
The image that came to my head when you were going through that was Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's walking across the street. Oh, there you are.
No, I mean, like almost like it wouldn't surprise me at all if Quentin Tarantino had
Yeah.
taken some liberties with the Archduke Franz Ferdinand
Stranger
story.
than fiction.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Dating a person with bipolar psychosis from Anonymous. Hello, everybody. I'm Anonymous, 37 years old, from a large Midwestern city. My pronouns are he, him, and they. I've been listening to the show for a few months now after reading the Reddit AMA. Some background. My mother died in May, and the process of grieving has me examining my life a lot lately. Along with pursuing my interests, I've been dating recently after I ended a shorter-term relationship not long after Mom died. I'm in therapy and have been working with my current therapist for a few months. Cut to now. I've been dating a queer woman presenting therapist. She is they and them. And by the way, she's not my therapist.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. Woo. Okay, we can all take a deep breath. We went out
I
once
was
for
really
coffee.
confused for a second there.
Yeah, because those did kind of piggyback. We went out for coffee on our first date, but after that, we've been mostly going to one another's places. They have several kinks, which have been awakening for us to explore. They have driven a lot. This has driven a lot of our attraction. This weekend, they got really anxious in bed while we were hooking up. We showed down. We showed down, and I went into be comforting mode. They started sharing some info about themselves. I knew they are recovering from an eating disorder and have been sober for 7 years when they revealed that they also have bipolar with psychosis. I started getting concerned. They work with a psychiatrist to manage their mental illness. I didn't react much to the description of hallucinations they've had, but after the info dump, I've been ruminating. It's so early in dating them that I'm wondering if it's good for me to keep dating them. I've had the tendency to sell myself short in romantic relationships, and I've latched onto people with major medical and emotional problems in the past. So, pod therapizers, what do I do? Is a healthy and stable relationship possible with someone who has so many challenges? Is it healthy to pursue while I'm very much in my grieving process? Thanks, everybody. Anonymous.
And that last part's the only part I was thinking about.
Ah,
The
where
whole
you at?
time. That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah, the grieving process.
Like the answer to your first question is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's possible.
Yeah, but is it good for you?
It might not be possible for you right
Yeah.
now. Who knows?
Yeah, a lot to that.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing, too, I actually just reached down to my laptop and highlighted this one sentence. And I've latched on to people with major medical and emotional problems in the past. Okay, so this seems to be a pattern in this relationship.
Yeah,
So-
or in your history.
History, yeah, sorry.
Mhm.
Better way to put it. So, I mean, that's something to take a look at right there. But you're already seeing a therapist?
That's good.
Yeah, I think this is a great question for your therapist,
Yeah.
who probably knows way more about you.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's some red flags, but we don't need to tell you because you wrote in about them.
Yeah.
Right?
You told us
I
what
think,
they are.
Yeah, I think.
Said, here are the red flags.
Yeah. So you and I think, are definitely on the same page. So I don't know. I don't know what that looks like for you. I mean, it seems like you're aware of them. So that's definitely a good sign. I guess the question I would ask you would be, what would be the next? So you said you've been in a history of relationships like this with major medical and emotional problems. You're in a grieving process. Hypothetically, if this relationship was not going to work out, what do you think would be the next sign that you would see that would indicate that? That's what I would ask you, and that's what I'd want you to kind of think about and focus on.
Yeah.
Because you are the expert on your own history.
Right. Yeah, if you know yourself. So this actually raises a really good question in general, which is, okay, the counterbalancing, everybody in this room is a mental health advocate. Everybody here is like, hey, no stigma, no shame, right? But you read a question like this, and one part of your brain is thinking, okay, well, don't abandon somebody just because they have something going on. They're clearly doing the right thing. They're working on it. But you caught them during a symptom moment, right? You caught them during an episode. Maybe don't abandon ship. But then there's another part of us that thinks, well, you're still allowed to self-advocate and you know what's healthy for you. And I want to kind of step into that complexity of like, okay, how do you navigate what's best for you, what's best for them? Where do you draw that line? It's a good question.
I think that's kind of where I was going first, and being able to say that somebody who is bipolar, psychosis, is lovable and is capable of having a healthy, good relationship.
Got to start
Yep.
with that.
In any relationship, you both have to be healthy
Right.
and able to work through what you need to work through. So knowing that you both are coming to the table with a lot of maybe unresolved emotion, what is that even? What are you bringing to the table that might even be hard for the other person?
Right.
So I think it's sometimes we're not, maybe, it's
But he's also not responsible for the other person.
no,
Yeah.
not at all.
I just want to clarify
No, not at all.
what you said there. Yeah, you're not responsible for
You can
her either.
No, you're responsible for yourself
Yeah.
and the health that you bring into into a relationship. And if you're not healthy and able to be in a relationship, that maybe it doesn't have to do with the other person.
That's a good point. Yeah, sometimes what you're learning is not, oh no, you're a red flag for having a mental health concern, but you could be noticing, okay, you're in a place where you would need something from me, and I know that I'm still recovering from something, and now I'm wondering, do I have what you need? Is this going to strain the relationship? But it's a good question, this bigger picture of like, what do you do in this dance? So I want to take just a quick moment just for informational purposes, because not everybody that's out there knows what the hell we're even talking about. Bipolar disorder, real quick, back of the envelope, what we're talking about, what is psychosis? Bipolar disorder, you hear it used a lot where people say, oh, this person's acting bipolar, just because they're emotional. And so it's used often as a slur. And so it's one of those terms that there's a lot of misinformation about. If somebody has a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, what that usually means is they oscillate between two pretty extreme brain states. It's not as simple as mood. It's not as simple as happy or sad. It is a state of mind. So they are probably grifting from the left side, which is like manic, which is pretty extreme, or more likely hypomanic, just below that. And symptoms of that are like grandiosity, high energy, euphoria, incredible charisma, very impulsive decisions. They might use drugs, drink, be sexual, spend money all the time, just have endless energy and creative output. It can be this very high level state that seems very itchy and they don't sleep for days. And sometimes that can become very dangerous for that person. They're making really poor decisions. They're irritable. They can get into fights. All sorts of things can happen. Then they can swing from time to time toward that other end of the spectrum, that lower end where they are depressive. And now it's a different brain state. Again, it's not merely sadness. It is a state of depression. And they are hopping from left to right, back and forth. So when you add psychosis to that, not all bipolar disorders have psychosis. Psychosis is a feature that can show up among people that have bipolar. And so psychosis specifically refers to hallucinating something. It's different than a delusion. It is a hallucination of some kind. And so you are fundamentally seeing or hearing something that is not there. It is a false perception. And so sometimes we have psychotic features that show up. And again, this word psychotic can scare a lot of people because it's been used in like Batman and like, the way you talk about my ex-girlfriend was psychotic. And people do not understand what these words mean. And this is an educational show, which is why I'm pit stopping to take a moment to teach you that psychosis merely means in this case that she is seeing or hearing something that is not there when she's probably in one of her states. The fact that she's seeing a psychiatrist is huge because therapy alone is not the way you treat this. Bipolar disorder in particular benefits from having therapy, but bipolar and psychosis require medical interventions in order to help the brain regulate those states. So usually the person's going to be put on a mood stabilizer of some kind. They're also probably going to be put on something that helps specifically when they're in a manic episode. Something like duloxetine might be an example of that, or Depakote. Not duloxetine, Depakote. I got my D's crossed there. But they're also in this case going to be probably put on an antipsychotic medication, something like Seroquel, quetiapine, something that's going to help the brain kind of right-size perception. And all of these medicines have a big effect on the person. And so the fact that this person is getting help, getting medical treatment, to me is very promising. I think that the writer is allowed to be startled by this and go, holy smokes, I didn't know this. But we've also had people write into the show in the past who have been in the girlfriend's position, who have said, hey, I have this. When do I tell new person that I'm dating that I have a mental health history? And that's a really good question. Like, when do you bring that up? Because girlfriend already told you, hey, I have an eating disorder. Just so you know, I'm sober. And that comes up pretty fast because you go on a date.
Right.
You go somewhere really fancy, like Olive Garden, and you get like the bread and the soup, and then you go, waiter, bring us over some barefoot wine, something really classy. Yeah. And then your date says, hey, none for me. And you go, oh, is barefoot too fancy for your taste, too rich for your blood, I assume? And then you say, no, I'm sober. And they, oh, good for you. Like, yeah, I don't drink. Okay. And then, you're curious about that. You go, is it like a health thing? Or is it like been sober for 7 years. Okay, great. It comes out, or like the eating disorder thing. It might come out. I'm a therapist, and you just share a little bit about your history. I'm grieving. I see a therapist. Okay, I've seen a therapist too. I have eating disorder. But this feels a little bit more deep. And sometimes people don't feel comfortable bringing this out, especially if they're medicated for it and they feel mostly regulated. But then even under medication and even under good regulation, this can pop out. And it sounds like it did here. And I don't know that your girlfriend is wrong for concealing that. I don't know that you were owed that information before this moment. I think you're allowed to be surprised by it, but I guess I want to comfort you that this doesn't mean you have to walk away. That this is something she is already regulating. You're learning about it. You got an up close and personal view to it. I don't want this to be a deal breaker for the relationship right away because I don't know if you're happy and there's a lot going on here. I don't want you to overthink it and think, oh no, am I qualified to manage this? No, you're not. It's not your job. She has a psychiatrist and a therapist. She has a medical team who are going to help with this. You are allowed to be affected by those conditions, and if it adversely affects you, you're allowed to walk away. And that's not being stigma, oriented. That's not being unfair or
It's not being
bigoted.
selfish.
It's not necessarily being selfish. You're allowed to say, hey, this exceeds my capacity to offer you as a relationship. That's fine. But I guess I would just discourage you from just, closing up shop after an episode like that, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not well maintained and managed.
I kind of like the way Karie said it, which pains me to say. But,
Yeah.
Self-exploration.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One fucking episode. We're almost done. We're almost done.
Doing great.
No, but just the idea that okay, a new relationship is starting. I need to know that I'm 100%, that I'm bringing myself in, that I'm healthy. I'm at 100% if I'm coming into the relationship. The other person should also be at 100% coming into this relationship.
Yeah.
Or at least close to 100%.
Right,
Like we're never going to be, like we talked a couple episodes ago, like you're never healed.
Mm-hmm.
There's scars. That's normal.
You're affected.
But you're functioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is going well. So I guess at the end of the day, it kind of comes back to that. You're going to ask two questions. Am I at 100%? Am I ready for this relationship? And the second thing is this other person?
Yeah.
I think that's a little unrealistic to say, am I 100%?
Right.
Because I don't feel like I was 100% when we started our relationship.
Let's make this about your relationship. I was hoping we would. Go ahead, Laura.
No, I'm not going to.
No. We're
Nope,
great.
nope. That's all I want to say.
Such a
can't-
tease.
I am not qualified to say anything.
I don't think we can unring this bell. No, but that's why I qualified.
I get what you're saying.
That's why I qualified.
Yeah,
Like, there.
We can all leave the
Thank
room
you,
if
Jacob.
you guys just want to talk it out.
No, this is
talk
good.
into the mic.
No, this is good.
Yeah,
Stay here.
This is
Sit
fine.
back down.
Okay, yeah.
You need to hear this.
Okay, yeah,
All
I'll
right?
stay. I'll
All
stay.
right.
Okay, go ahead.
No, but I think like this is that's 100%. Like that, you're not really 100%. Is not really the right way to say it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Laura's right.
But I'm saying,
Go ahead. It's
She's-
okay to say that.
okay.
It's okay to look her in the eye when you say
No,
it.
I'm not the therapist here.
no, but I do think that it's a place of what's the right word other than 100%? What's
She's
the right word?
Just say Laura's right. Why does it hurt you so much?
I forgot what we were talking about.
I agree
But
with
I'm
Laura.
No,
sorry,
I-
Ryder. I'm sorry.
No,
I didn't mean to
this
do
is-
that. I just wanted to call you
did.
out on telling someone they need to be 100%. Again, like
Yes.
the perfection thing.
You're
Like
right.
you have to be perfect to be in a relationship.
Okay, but that's also not what I was saying.
okay.
That's good.
But
I
that's
heard.
but good on you for calling me out for that.
I'm loving this.
But I wasn't saying you have to be perfect. 100%. I can't think of another word to say 100%. Not 100%, but mentally and emotionally grounded?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
No, that's
You have
it.
to be mentally and emotionally
Yeah.
grounded. That's what I meant by 100%.
Okay.
I didn't mean,
These sound effects are fantastic. Just keep doing what
yeah.
you're doing.
No, let's just end it there. I think that's good. That's a good spot.
I agree with Laura, but I will come in between you guys. That's what Henry Cavill said. And I will help try to fuse these two things. Because I agree. I think that, and I know that that's what you meant as well. That, yeah, we want the writer to feel that it's okay to self-evaluate and ask, does this exceed my emotional capacity? Am I in a good place to be dating right now? Because maybe I'm going through something. That's fair. That's fair. And we don't want perfection to get in the way of progress. We're not waiting for best. You can do relationships. We figure it out on the road. Fuck it, we do it live, I think is the quote I'm going for. Thank you, Jacob. Thanks, everybody. Great work.
Right on.
Let's just go back to the part where I said Mexico and just fucking grab that trivia out of the air. I think that's the point that we all needed to take away today.
Let's go back to the, 8 culturally insensitive things that you've said in the last 2 hours.
Me! You! The turquoise thing? Come on, man. Turquoise sucks.
That was you.
Everybody hates turquoise. No, anybody that pretends to like turquoise is just an asshole.
I definitely-
and they're trying
I
to
definitely
do it.
like turquoise.
You're calling
Nobody
me an
likes
asshole.
turquoise. People
You're calling me an
pretend to
asshole.
like turquoise. You pretend to like turquoise.
love turquoise.
You're trying to impress somebody.
No, I'm
That's
not.
what this is. Nobody likes turquoise. Turquoise doesn't go with anything. Turquoise is just this very conspicuous, loud stone thing. Is it a rock? Is it a rock?
I don't know.
I mean,
I think you need to
it's
let it
technically
go.
a mineral.
Is it a color? What is turquoise?
I mean, there's a stone called turquoise.
That's my birthstone, right?
But
I hate it.
Yes.
It's
is
garbage.
Is it
It's
technically a
absolute
mineral?
garbage.
I don't know what it is.
I think it's an animal. I think that's where we're going on this.
I'm sure it's an animal.
We've reached the end of the show, and we just want to thank everybody who supports us at patreon.com/therapy. There's extra content up there every episode, and you get the show a day early. And remember, when you sign up, you just go ahead and grab the little RSS feed that you're given, pump it into your podcast listening app, and that's it. Your job's done. And then everything that we put up there that's audio-based, you will just get it. It will just start dumping into your podcast app. It's great. Patreon.com/therapy.
Show's been a little off the rails
All
today.
the deep dives,
Good.
all the
Yeah,
interviews, all the extra
That's good.
stuff. It's just all there. And we've got some new folks that are supporting us, and I want to say the first one because it's a new TheraPal. Welcome, Pika Scoop! I love that name.
And welcome to our new theropods, Max the Ginger Scoop and Matthias.
Matthias? There's an H.
Yeah, I think it's silent.
Steven.
I think it's Matthias.
No.
Matthias.
Matthias?
Rock me, Amadeus.
You can't see it. How do you know?
Because I know how it's spelled.
Matthias?
Matthias.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
I think it's Matthias.
No,
Matthias.
Don't quote me.
Van Brandt.
Somebody tried to explain to me today that they told me that somebody tried to explain to them that the casino in town, Ballys, is pronounced Bally's. I thought that person was just
Oh.
wrong.
Cricket.
That is just
Like
wrong.
what?
Yeah, I was like, they were just wrong.
That is
Okay.
just
Yeah.
not
This was
accurate.
going to be the trivia. Let me go ahead and read the names.
That's fine. We also want to thank all
Got
of
some
our Thera producers. We want to thank those bosses, those mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club who make the show possible. Thanks, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mintz, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Nathan's Meat Tube Sandwich, Malia, Leon Kassab, Cindy Ash, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Newstick, Pillow Scoop. Feels right. Ben Stanley, Slappin' Ya Face, Polygon, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Myra, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, and of course, this episode is brought to you by our Thera partner, Dirty B. And now back to Nick, who has written something on paper.
If you would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That is all the time that we've got for this week's session. We want to thank our in-studio guests, Karie and Laura. And thanks to Ice Cream Social Podcast, our landlords, and all of you who wrote into the show today. We do appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode with someone who needs it. You can do that and tag us on the socials. We're at Pod Therapy on Facebook. We are at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter. And of course, don't forget about the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
And if you want to submit a question to the show, ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Franz Ferdinand.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Is he a duke?
Okay.
Ciao.
Archduke.
Oh,
All right.
Shit. Okay. Like a mega duke.
You got to go last.
Okay.
He's pointing
Laura?
to Karie.
Yes.
Laura, you can't talk because you already know these.
Oh, okay.
This is.
How do you pronounce these?
Oh, he's written
Oh,
words.
good.
Let's start with
He's
the first
written
one.
words.
Start with the first one.
The first one is Nevaks.